Well, hello and good morning. My name is Kieron Seamons. This is my inky world where we do inky things and talk inky things and and generally make a mess. Today we are talking about some of my past cartoon shows, which I have a vast collection of over 30 years of animation films and animation TV shows. So, today we are going to talk about something else. Not something else, but a cartoon show called Something Else. Very beautiful. Check it out. Okay, so the show was called Something Else, and I was actually sent a book and asked to do a show. It was for an English company. I think it was also to do with a Canadian company. I believe that it was a co-production between a Canadian company and a British company. And the British company were called Teleimagination, and the Canadian company called Studio B. Studio B were fantastic. They were a brilliant bunch of people. If you ever missed any artwork, if you ever missed any model sheets or anything like that, and they were very good at kind of putting everything together. And Teleimaginations were a UK company that I'd worked for before on a few projects. And they're pretty decent company. They had a very strange management side of the company, but which kind of became a bit problematic in later years, I think. But anyway, so let's get on with today's cartoon show, which was called Something Else. So I got sent this book. Now, most of the times when you get sent these books, these kind of books are kind of children's books. Usually they're quite famous or popular or something, and you need to kind of work out a kind of process of how it's going to change from the book to the final animation. And this book it was actually written by Catherine Cave was the writer, I believe. Catherine Cave. And the illustrator was Chris Riddle. Beautifully illustrated. I really loved that book. And it came through, and I unwrapped the book, and the cover grabbed me straight away. It was this huge big chair with this little kind of blue man sitting in it. Just check my cameras are moving. Hello, camera, are you moving? and it grabbed me straight away from the I remember being too impatient to even read it at the beginning. I thought, I have to see where the artwork is going on this. Sometimes the cover grabs you. Sometimes the cover gets you so full of excitement. You go, oh my God, I've got to buy this book. And you buy the book. And as soon as you open the... I still like the cover better. You know the type of books. And so this was the book. I started flicking through some of the pages, and some of the pages were beautiful. Beautiful book. If you are looking for a nice kids book, Something Else by Catherine Cave and Chris Riddle. I hope that's how they say his name. And I'm going to try and draw this a little bit kind of closer to the book version of the cartoon, because I think there's a little bit more life in it. I think once it became a animated character, I think the character model had to be kind of tied down a little bit more. And one of the beautiful things about Something was that his hair was this wild, wavy hair, and it had to be kind of made into, animated pears, as I always say. They're kind of made into those kind of pear shapes so they can kind of move in the animation form. But in the original book, I've got a picture of the original book somewhere. Yeah. The original book was definitely nicer, but obviously there has to be a kind of meet. You kind of got to meet the middle ground. Did he have eyebrows? No, he didn't. I thought so. Yeah. One of the difficult things about sometimes these characters look very beautiful in books, but without eyebrows for expression, angry, confused, that type of thing. I think sometimes it can be quite difficult in animation, whereas in a book you can kind of get away with quite a few things. So I will attempt to draw both characters. For the simple reason that I thought both of them were lovely. I really, I cannot say enough how this book excited me. And I had a few weeks, maybe a month, with the book before I actually got the model sheets, as we talked through kind of contract things and would I be interested, blah blah blah. Definitely interested. And I thought it was one of those type of books that would be, it's one of those type of things that makes kids all kind of feel like I'm a little bit different. So if I'm a little bit different, will people like me? And people don't like you because you're different, and then you're something else, that type of thing. That was a beautiful concept, beautiful idea, beautiful. And the book worked lovely. Now, as far as the actual cartoon of it, I do kind of feel they went a little bit too safe with it. I do feel like, with such beautiful characters, the stories could have become a little bit more magical. I did feel that the stories became too safe in their format, in the way of safe, meaning that it could really have been any character that was doing these stories. And I did feel it needed a little bit more magic, because they were such magical characters, and I felt like the adventures needed to be more magical. Okay, so I'm going to get to his hair now. So he had these lovely waves of hair, and I hope Chris won't mind me doing a mid version of the animated model and his looser model. I hope I'm trying to do a kind of a mid kind of journey. But I did feel like the stories could have been a lot more magical, a lot more kind of and the characters, I really did feel needed to be taken on a magical journey of sorts. And I do feel like it was a very sad thing that the show never really, I don't know, it just didn't seem to be as popular as it should have been. I feel like maybe the kind of magical side of it was the part that was missing. De Niro growling and chasing his ball around in the background. And they always had this kind of like almost a sad look to their eyes, where the eyebrows kind of went up in an angle. And in the book, I felt it really helped us understand their kind of sadness in a way. And I really did think it really, really brought up to it. But I feel like that should have, if you're not going to take it into a much more magical journey, I feel like hang on a minute. His ball is behind my mandolin. You're a silly boy, aren't you? Hey. There you go. There you go. There you go. Sorry about that. He throws the ball in the air by himself, and which is a beautiful part of his character. Sometimes it goes behind my mandolins. In fact, I've got red fingers today because I've been working on my sister's violin. I've been trying to rebuild her. I actually bought her a very old violin. She was getting into the realms of learning to play the violin, and for her birthday I bought her a very old violin, but it needed a lot of work, and it ended up that I did the work, but it's fun. It's always fun to kind of have a hobby that is so different from your life, if you know what I mean. And he had these long kind of hairy, feathery fingers, which I loved. I loved that whole kind of idea of it. And all credits to Chris for such a beautiful character and a beautiful view of a show. Sometimes it's very difficult when someone gives you a book and you have to kind of to imagine what story would go along with this, what characters, and I don't know how much Catherine had to do with the character building on these, but I loved them. I thought they were absolutely stunning. I loved the book. In fact, it's one of the books that I've bought so many different. I don't think I've even got a copy of it. It's one of the books that I have bought so many copies of, or if I see it in a charity shop, I always kind of rescue it, give it to people as a gift, because it's one of those beautiful beautiful books, and with a beautiful meaning and beautiful characters and beautiful illustrations, beautiful everything, and I do feel like it was one of those shows that could have gone on to many episodes if it had been if it had been scripted in a more imaginative way. But again, it's wasn't my call on the scripts. So as long as the author is happy with it, then it should go ahead. And he had these lovely long hairy toes as well that made the character. And he comes in very late in the book. He comes in towards the end of the book. Something else. Nobody likes something. Nobody likes something else, and then something comes to his door. You're not like me. You're something else is the tag that runs through the book, and I love that. It's such a powerful line, and so something else had this rather kind of kidney bean shaped nose. And it was very clever the way that Chris has designed these characters, because they he's got a big highlight on his nose, because they look so different, although they are something and something else, you know. He had lots of wrinkles behind his nose in the book version of it, and his hair is much shabbier. But again, once the animation model comes in, the animation model is refined. Not so many wrinkles around his nose. I think, was there only one? Yeah, one. One or two. And again, he had these big kind of sad eyes. Which... And again, no eyebrows, so they seem to be quite sad all the way through the show, in my opinion. And it would have been nice to kind of put that into the. I would have been very tempted for the animation version to have given them that eyebrow, or at least developed some way to have their expression be a lot more happy, you know, that maybe they're unhappy until they kind of find each other, but then they can become a kind of happy buddies, you know. And yeah, in the book illustration, his hair is kind of swept back. He's kind of I've got a big plaster on my head at the moment, but he's got this like a little kind of wisp of hair that comes through the middle of his head, and it's quite beautiful. It's quite beautiful in the way that it. But in the cartoon version, it's kind of like more of a chunk of hair that is kind of swept back, which, you know, again, it's for the animation, but again, I will do a I will do a middle kind of a little bit of both, maybe. And it was a show that was taken. I think I'd come back from Korea when I got this show, and I'd been sent to Shanghai, and it wasn't the first time in Shanghai. I'd been in Shanghai on a project before, and I had gone to this beautiful animation studio, and it was actually in a big kind of school playground, and I had to walk across this school playground until I got to this cinema. I was like, okay, I can see the school, see the playground, I can see the cinema. Where's the studio? And it was an old, disused cinema. So the studio was actually in where the old cinema was, and I had actually that's probably where I actually met my old friend Dan, my old 70 something year old Dan. He was the most lovely man you'd ever meet. And so I went into this cinema. Now, as you walk in, you got all like the kind of managers and such downstairs, the artists and such downstairs. So you walk in, you see all the artists, and then you look up and you have the balcony of the cinema. This huge balcony, and the balcony then led into a large back room, which is where my office was. And I would go up the stairs, which big kind of circular stairs that walked up around, and then I'd meet all the managers and such up there. And it was a lovely, lovely, lovely place. Um, the manager there, Xiao O, was very, very nice. She could speak very good English, and more than the fact that she could speak English was the fact that she kind of understood um, the English way of thinking. So when you would explain something, she would completely understand. It was beautiful. And there were some lovely people there. Met some great people. And I spent a couple of years there. I actually did the Noah's Island, about the polar bear and who saves all these animals, which was a very popular show in the UK. I'm not sure where else it went. Very difficult show to draw. Very difficult drawing all the animals and such. And I also did it in that studio in the cinema. And I'll think of the studio's name. The owner was called Stephen Ching, who was definitely a real businessman. You know, he kind of said, he smiled and said yes about everything. You know, as all good businessmen do. He was a very nice guy. And something else had this kind of like monkey hands. He had hair, and then in the palm of his hand, all his fingers were hairless. So he had these kind of strange kind of monkey hands, but it was a very nice design because it kept that kind of two-tone color. His light blue in his face and in his palm of his hand, and then dark blue on his body. So I worked there for a few years in Shanghai in the cinema, in my upstairs office. In fact, I was I was kind of like I was upstairs in the office with Dan, which we shared an office. We shared an office for a couple of years, I believe, putting something else together. And it's something else. The Studio B were in charge of all the retakes and the fixes and stuff like that, and they were fabulous. They were a fabulous studio to work with. And definitely I would work with them again. They were fabulous. Studio B, Teleimagination were bought out by a company. I think they were bought by TV Loonland, and that kind of changed the studio and changed the atmosphere and the feeling and everything about the studio. All kind of became a bit odd after that. But Studio B were fantastic dealing with everything. And the funny part about me having the upstairs office because it was quite a good budget. You know, it was a good budget for something else, and for Noah's Island, because they were very difficult shows to draw. I mean, to draw these two characters with all the hair, and in the book they've got like, they go into the town. I wish I had the book, and I wonder if there's something on there. And they go into town. What is that actually? And they go into the town, and there you go.
Walked right in and sat down on his supper. Do I know you? Ask something.
I wonder if there's some of the actual animation on there or something else. And once my next project, something else. Something else. My next project was actually called Little Ghosts. It was a French show, French books, and obviously because it was only a ghost, you had to draw just a ghost. Oh, there you go. There's the intro. Oh, silly boy, what have you done? There's some of the backgrounds. Look at those backgrounds. Look at them. Can you see that? They had lots of umbrellas and lots of mountains and hills and... There you go. That was the opening for it. And that kind of comes into the... Maybe at the opening. See the... do I get a credit? No, I don't see. I don't get a credit on these ones for... some of the later shows I get credit at the beginning.
Wish me happy birthday, Kevin.
See, even the voices are pretty damn good, you know. There you go. Some of the lovely backgrounds. Some of the very, very, very complex backgrounds. Anyway, that gives you an idea of the voices and the colours and the backgrounds were stunning. Again, very complicated to draw when you've got to draw a huge landscape with houses and mountains and umbrellas and such like. Right. So something else was the TV show. Go and check it out online. A beautiful show. Beautiful period of time in Shanghai. Again, the date. Date, I'm not quite sure about the date. I think it was kind of like around that time that I had moved over to work with some of the Canadian companies. I'd kind of run a bit dry with some of the British companies, and I went on to work with some of the Canadian companies. Sinar was one of the companies, and I went on to do Treasure, which was which I did I did a couple of days back. Treasure, and I really did enjoy the change doing some of the Canadian shows. There was a real... I did Calliou. I did Treasure. And that was a real kind of beautiful period of time. It was really nice. It was nice to kind of break away from, sometimes you can get into a habit with working with certain, it's very difficult to kind of renegotiate your contract as well. It's kind of like, well, no, I think I need such and such more money. What? Why? You're always... I know I'm always, but, don't you feel I'm worth it? Huh? Whereas when you kind of go to a new company and you kind of say, well, I'm not going to do it for that money. I want such and such money. And they go, oh, okay, we'll have to have a think about it. We know you're worth it, but. And so you can kind of like renegotiate things. I sound horrible, don't I? And so when I moved over to do Treasure and some of those other shows, then I was getting a lot more money. And, you know, I did feel at that point it was getting very, very difficult to find people. Let's put an umbrella in the back. It was getting very difficult to actually find people that wanted to go, wanted to leave their family and travel all the way to China. And you got to remember, this is like I started to go out to China in like '95, which is when I first went out there, and you know, back in '95, it was kind of like, we've got this cartoon show. Yeah, where is it? It's in the moon. So we'll fly you out to the moon, and what? The moon? You know, and that was kind of like what China was at the time. To be honest, it was kind of like, oh yeah, I'd love to do that show. Where is it? It's in China. China? China? You want me to fly to no chance. And so a lot of people, they found it very difficult. So it was very easy to kind of say, well, if you want me to do your show, I want this money. Because they did find it very, very difficult to find people. Whereas now everything is a lot more modern and the world is such as it is, and it'd probably be very easy. Lots of people would love to fly out to China, and China has become a very modern place. It's becoming a very different place. I do love the old China. People were so beautiful. They were such lovely, very, very friendly, very kind people. And I loved my days in China. I loved my adventures in China. As I did everywhere. You know, I loved being in Germany. I loved being in South Korea. I loved all of it. You know, I can't really think of a place that I hated being. You know, I always had that kind of make the best of where you are, and I did, very, very much. I really enjoyed, and I was very, very dedicated to the shows that I worked on. I would say that I did go kind of above and beyond for my shows. I really did work very, very hard for those shows, and to get a very good quality. There was a lot of battles that I went through in studios that when the quality dropped. So it was a very demanding job to kind of to go into a foreign country and to make friends, build a team, and to kind of push them for a certain amount of quality for your work. So yeah, it was a very, very challenging job, but I did love it. I really did. And when you got shows that came in like something else, like this show, it was so beautiful. I knew that I would be getting the call back. This show is so popular. Can you do another 100 episodes? Yeah, sure, no problem. Oh, Kieron, it's still so popular. Can you do another 100 episodes? Yes, no problem. I thought it really would be that. Sadly, it didn't. Sometimes you're very surprised. Sometimes when shows are so popular and you think, well, that was quite a rubbish show. I'm glad to see the back of that, and then you get, well, we've just sold another 1,000 episodes to such and such, and you go, what? Why that one? Why that one? Why not something else? Or, you know. But you know, the cartoon world is a well, the whole kind of marketing world is a very strange thing, anyway. It's like, and then when in later years when we actually started to do our own productions and stuff, okay, so that's how it works. Oh right, oh. money is king, you know. And yes, it was all hand drawn. Yes, it was all drawn on paper and pencil. Yes, it was all scanned and painted properly in the old style. And a fantastic show. Fantastic book, fantastic show, fantastic time in Shanghai. I'm sure BMO will pop up and say, "Oh, it was done in whatever year it was." I can't exactly remember what year it was, to be honest. But there we are. That is something else. A fantastic book. Go and buy the book. Catherine Cave and Chris Riddle. Beautifully illustrated. Lovely story. Lovely concept. Very bright book. Very big book. Your kids will love it. And the same for the cartoon show. The cartoon show, I think it's about 100 episodes that I did. It was a lovely show. It was a really, really beautiful show. Great characters, lots of characters. So enjoy the show, enjoy today's drawing, and please subscribe and come back for more chat. I would love to have you back. See you again very soon. Bye-bye.